Senator McCarron was a very powerful guy in the Senate. He was the first native-born Nevadan to be elected as Senator of Nevada. He served during the Great Depression.
This is really, really cool.
It is.
These are the guys who basically invented plant metal. I mean,
without question.
The episode starts with pure political drama. A man walks in carrying a Senate chair once belonging to Senator Pat McCarron. Rick lights up like a kid in civics class, explaining how senators actually get their own chairs on the Senate floor. The seller wants no less than $3,500, but Rick's skeptical. Without expert verification, it could just be an old squeaky office chair. The stakes? History itself, sitting on 4 wheels.
A senator's chair.
that's amazing.
You get elected to be a senator?
Rick dives into the story. McCarron was Nevada's first native-born senator, serving during the Depression, World War II, and the Korean conflict. This chair could have been there when America declared war. That's not just furniture, it's history with armrests. Rick even sits in it, instantly declaring, "I feel like a better person," but he knows better than to risk it blind, so he calls in an expert.
Okay.
It belongs to Senator McCarron.
Or at least it used to. He hasn't been around for a while. I mean, this was McCarron's chair. It's...
Meanwhile, construction chaos takes over the shop. Rick secretly builds the old man his own office. Pops isn't having it. "I like where I sit. I can see the whole store." Corey adds fuel, teasing him for falling asleep in front of office. Pops fires back, "Who's sleeping at work? Me?" Classic denial. Grump level 100.
It's been crazy around here lately. We're putting a new addition on the pawn shop, and there's been construction everywhere. I didn't tell the old man yet.
Then comes a celestial treasure, a photo of the Gemini launch signed by astronauts. The seller swears it's authentic, Buzz Aldrin included. Corey geeks out, rattling off Gemini's role in prepping Apollo for the moon. But there's a catch: no paperwork to back up the signatures. Corey's not gambling NASA money, so he calls in a buddy for help. The suspense launches sky high.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing?
What do we have here?
I got a picture of the Gemini launch space program. It's got a whole bunch of autographs from...
While waiting, a seller shows up with a Ryan Newman NASCAR fire suit. The man wants $2,500, but he'll settle for $1,000. Rick sizes it up, joking about wearing it to drive around town. The seller explains it came from cleaning out a warehouse, but the lack of certificates screams garage cosplay. Rick's intrigued, but not convinced yet.
Got a Ryan Newman fire suit. I believe it's from 2002, 2003.
Do you wear this thing driving around town?
No. I was cleaning out a warehouse, actually, working for a company.
Back to the Gemini photo. The autograph expert arrives. He confirms Buzz Aldrin's signature is real, along with several other astronauts. The problem? Some lesser-known names make the piece less valuable than the seller hoped. Still, it's legit history. Corey throws out an offer, aiming low as always. The seller debates, big payout or basement dust collector.
The gloves are not authentic to the suit. These were taken at a later date and autographed. His gloves would have matched his suit.
Meanwhile, the old man continues his war against the new office. Rick promises couches, bathrooms, the works. Pops shrugs. "I still won't like it." You can feel the generational stubbornness clashing harder than any negotiation. It's not just about office space, it's about pride.
This is nice. What is it, Rick?
This is your new office. Big power desk. You got your...
The fire suit finally hits its turn under scrutiny. Rick points out without race-worn proof or Newman's autograph, it's basically a Halloween costume for NASCAR superfans. The seller drops his ask, but Rick's counter is brutal. Just a couple hundred. Negotiations sputter out like a car low on gas. The seller packs up, suit still unsold.
A NASCAR driver suit is more than just a walking billboard. It's a vital piece of safety. If the car catches fire...
Finally, the Senate chair gets its moment of truth. Rick's expert confirms it's authentic. Real leather, proper design, McCarron's nameplate intact. Value? Thousands. The seller wanted $7,000, but Rick, master of the lowball, counters hard. After tense haggling, they land on a deal. Rick wins, the seller leaves lighter, and the shop gains a literal seat of power.
To acquire this? I have employees that worked in the D.C. area that bought this from Eva Adams' estate sale. And they presented it to me for retirement.
That's really nice. You know who Eva Adams?
The episode closes with Rick, Corey, and the old man juggling history, space memorabilia, racing gear, and office drama. From Senate power to Buzz Aldrin signatures, the shop felt like a mashup of C-SPAN, NASA TV, and NASCAR highlights. And of course, the old man grumbling through it all kept things grounded.
He's got to run this damn joint. You kids don't.
You can't see what's going on with your eyes closed.
It's embarrassing when you're sleeping up here in front of the customers.
Imagine Imagine walking into a pawn shop with a toy car and asking for $150,000. That's exactly what Bruce did when he brought in the 1969 Hot Wheels pink rear-loading Beach Bomb, the holy grail of Hot Wheels. The kicker? He wanted to sell it to fund his daughter's wedding. Talk about turning childhood toys into real-life wedding bells. Even Rick looked stunned at the price tag.
On this episode of Pawn Stars.
What do you got there?
Pink 1969 rear-load Beach Bomb.
That's the holy grail of Hot Wheels, isn't it?
It sure is.
What do you want for it?
Rick couldn't deny it. This Hot Wheel was special. Surfboards intact, mint condition, and the rarest variation never sold to the public. Bruce bragged about his 6,000-strong Hot Wheels collection, but this was his crown jewel. He tossed out $150,000 as casually as if he were ordering lunch. Rick's jaw nearly hit the floor, but instead of arguing, he did the smart move. Let's call Johnny, the toy expert.
That's the holy grail of Hot Wheels, isn't it?
It sure is. It's in mint condition. These are the original surfboards that go with it.
Yeah, that was,
Enter Johnny, strutting in like the king of toys. The man practically sprinted to the counter when he heard rear-loading Beach Bomb. With white gloves on, he inspected the base, the paint, even tiny flaws in the casting. His verdict? 100% legit. Only 2 pink prototypes exist, and Bruce had one of them. Value? A solid $100,000. Rick's eyes widened. Bruce was practically holding a stack of gold.
When Rick called me and told me he had the Hot Wheels pink rear loader Beach Bomb, I couldn't believe it and I couldn't get here fast enough. This is the rarest and most sought after Hot Wheel in existence.
Then came the negotiation meltdown. Rick cautiously offered $60,000. Bruce fired back with $140,000. Rick stretched to $70,000, but Bruce wouldn't budge. The man treated his Hot Wheel like a Lamborghini. After some tense back and forth, they shook hands on nothing. Bruce walked out, clutching his pink baby, still dreaming of 6 figures. You could cut the disappointment with a knife.
It's just not going to do it. I guess when you're talking about world record cars and the holy grails, kind of what.
Next up, retro sci-fi chic. A lady rolled in with 2 Weltron UFO Stereos from 1970, looking like props straight out of Star Trek. Chumley, of course, admitted he knew nothing about 8-tracks. I'm all about digital downloads. Classic. The seller wanted $3,000, but Big Hoss looked at them like novelty lava lamps.
These are 1970 Weltron UFO Stereos, and these are actually 2 different models. This is the first model that came out that has the 8-track.
She fired them up, and sure enough, one still played radio. That didn't save the deal. Big Hoss tossed out $300, Rick countered at $500, and the seller begged for $600. After a bit of playful arm wrestling, they settled at $550. Seller sighed, the shop scored, and the stereos floated into the back like little space pods.
We can kind of hear radio there, a little bit, FM, AM.
All right, so it works. We'll go ahead and turn it off. So,
Yeah.
what are you looking to do with these?
Meanwhile, Chumley decided to write his memoirs. Yes, his memoirs. He bragged about epic street wars while scribbling nonsense. Rick called him a villain in Chum's life story, while the old man was crowned the hero. Watching them argue was like listening to kids fight over crayons, except one of them was seriously trying to title his book 50 Shades of Chum.
There's a lot of people out there with really interesting lives, and it's fun to read about it.
Kind of like my life.
I imagine your life is pretty boring, actually.
My life ain't boring. My life would be the best memoir ever.
The real high art moment arrived when Barbara walked in with a supposed Rembrandt etching. Rembrandt's mother with hand on chest. She wanted $10,000, already planning to spend leftovers on Super Bowl tickets. Rick gave a crash course on etching, acid baths, and copper plates like he was teaching Art History 101. The suspense? Was it a rare early state or just a later reproduction?
I have some awesome friends who decided I was worth it, and they gave it to me for my birthday.
Okay.
It was a landmark birthday, and I won't tell you how old, but it was over 30.
Rick called in Brett, the fine art expert, who practically drooled at the name Rembrandt. But after close inspection, he delivered the bombshell. It wasn't an early state. It was from the Millennium Edition, made in the late 20th century. Still authentic, but far from a masterpiece. Value? $1,500 to $2,000. Barbara's face fell faster than the stock market.
A lady came in with an etching by Rembrandt that could possibly be his mother. I need to know what state and what the value is of this etching. And if anybody will know, it will be Brett.
Rick, never shy about lowballing, offered $800. Barbara refused instantly, saying her friends had paid 4 figures for it. She left with the etching, her Super Bowl dreams deflated. Rick shrugged it off. Business as usual. The expert's honesty crushed a hopeful payday, and Barbara walked out with nothing but wall decor.
Maybe as recently as late 20th century.
Okay. So what do you think it's worth?
From a value standpoint, though, I think we're talking about...
Back at the shop, Chumley proudly unveiled his finished memoir. The cover, a creepy drawing of Rick that looked suspiciously like Charles Manson. Inside, completely blank pages. Chum claimed, "You judge a book by its cover, and that's one hell of a cover." Rick's face said it all. Pure disbelief mixed with regret for ever hiring him. Comedy gold.
Pretty good picture, huh?
You look like that Manson guy.
Looking back, the episode was pure chaos. A 6-figure toy car deal collapsing, UFO Stereos selling for pennies, a Rembrandt reduced to wall art, and Chumley reinventing himself as a blank book author. Only on Pawn Stars could you see priceless art and 50 Shades of Chum in the same hour. Drama overload, folks.
There's gonna be some good content in there too.
And what's the name of this book?
Well, it's a working title right now. Thinking maybe The Book of Chum.
The episode kicks off with rockstar energy. Literally, a woman struts in holding a custom guitar painted and played by Phil Collen of Def Leppard. She's asking $10,000, hoping to turn shredding riffs into a shiny new car for her daughter. Honestly, that's one way to trade hysteria for horsepower. Rick lights up like a kid at a rock concert, reminiscing about Def Leppard's MTV domination, but he knows better than to buy blind. Expert time is inevitable.
The very special guitar, painted and played by Phil Collen of Def Leppard.
The guitar's no ordinary axe. It's hand-painted, one of only 30 ever produced, and stamped with Phil's signature in Japanese. To make it even wilder, it's the only one with a third pickup, matching how Phil actually plays live. The seller beams with confidence, proudly declaring it's the real deal. Rick's impressed, but he keeps a poker face. This could be 6 strings of pure gold, or a glorified dorm room decoration.
It is a guitar.
Okay.
The very special guitar, one of a kind.
It's a very...
Suddenly, advertising nostalgia takes the stage. A seller reveals Mogan David proof ads and glass slides from the 1950s, the kind of prints that once graced Life magazine. He dreams of $500, convinced he's holding marketing gold. Rick dives into a lecture on 4-color lithography, breaking down the entire print process like it's History Channel Live. The seller nods politely, but Rick ends up passing. These weren't collectible enough. The poor guy leaves disappointed, proof in hand.
This is the 1950s, and Mogan David saw a market that needed to be exploited.
Right.
It's just, the United States really wasn't into wine.
From ads to sneakers, the energy shifts again. A man struts in with LeBron James's autographed 2004 All-Star Game shoes. The kicker? He claims LeBron signed them right off his feet during a Cavs game. Chumley cracks that they might be worth more without the signature. And for once, it's not the dumbest comment. The seller shoots for $1,000, but without proof, it's just a pair of dusty kicks with ink.
I've got a pair of LeBron autograph shoes.
This is pretty cool.
These are actually the Wheat Edition ones. They're the 2004 All-Star Game ones, and they're a limited edition.
Chum calls in his autograph guy, who inspects every sloppy curve of LeBron's scrawl. Verdict: the shoes are legit, signature messy, but authentic. Value sits around $350 to $400. Cue disappointment. Chum offers $200, the seller claps back with $600, and negotiations nosedive. Chum sweetens it to $250, but the seller storms out. Watching Chum lose a deal over $100 is like watching him drop a cheeseburger. Tragic, but hilarious.
The first thing starts off here, and we kind of see the same thing here. And he just kind of goes into this big mess here.
The seller left with his shoes, muttering about waiting until LeBron wins another championship. Chum just shrugged it off, pretending he didn't care. But deep down, you know he was kicking himself harder than those Air Zoom soles. It's not every day you let King James's autograph walk right out the door. Talk about a missed slam dunk.
We're looking at about $200.
I think with the combination of the rare shoe and the rare signature, I think it's just too low of an offer.
You know, unfortunately, the rare shoe and the signature aren't gonna...
Meanwhile, Rick's buddy Jesse shows up to examine the Def Leppard guitar. He confirms it's the real deal, an artist proof from Jackson's 30th anniversary collection. Factory stock, $3,000. With Phil's paint and autograph, $10,000 to $12,000. The shop's buzzing, but Jesse pushes things higher. He calls in a second opinion, someone who knows the art side better. Rick's curiosity spikes. He has no idea this is about to turn into a backstage pass moment.
Jackson Guitars is kind of the company that a lot of the more metal kind of guys and 80 guys gravitated towards because...
And then the impossible happens. Phil Collen himself walks in, with Joe Elliott, Def Leppard's lead singer. The shop erupts into pure rock euphoria. Phil confirms on the spot that it's one of his guitars, number 3 out of 30. He strums a few riffs, and the sound fills the shop like a private concert. Rick beams like a teenager meeting his idols, while the seller looks one step away from fainting.
Earlier, my buddy Jesse came in the shop to check out a guitar that may have been signed and painted by Phil Collen of Def Leppard. And if this thing checks out, this thing could be worth as much as $12,000.
Phil even jokes about remembering when he painted it, pointing out his Japanese signature. Joe Elliott laughs, tossing in a few stories about the band's glory days. For a moment, the pawn shop feels less like a business and more like a backstage hangout. Rick doesn't fanboy often, but here he looked seconds away from asking for an autograph himself.
30 of these I'd done. It was Jackson Guitar's 30th anniversary, and for that I splash painted 10 more like practice run ones. And if it's one of the ones I did, I'd tell you really easy because it's got my signature on it.
Negotiations finally crank up to 11. The seller insists on $10,000. Rick counters with $8,000. She pushes to $9,000, but Rick holds strong, splitting the difference at $8,500. After a tense pause, she agrees. Deal sealed. She leaves with $8,500 in her pocket, a priceless Def Leppard meet and greet memory, and the promise of a new car for her daughter. Double jackpot.
So, you know, cool guitar for the shop. Got to see some friends. It was a pretty good day.
That was pretty surreal.
In the middle of all this rock star drama, another seller tries their luck with a broken antique carriage clock. She hopes for $1,500, dreaming of shoe shopping sprees. Rick winds it up and it wheezes like an asthmatic cat. Even working, it might fetch $150. Repairs cost more than the clock's value, so Rick passes without hesitation. The seller sighs, walking out with a mantelpiece nobody wants.
It's been in my family for about 4 generations. It's brass, it's an antique carriage clock.
Okay, cool. This carriage clock design came along, I think.
The episode closes with Rick basking in Def Leppard glory, giddy about meeting Phil and Joe. He brags to Chumley, who stares blankly. Def Leppard? Weird name for a band. Rick's face sinks in disbelief. Chum doubles down, joking about blind melons and 90s band names. Rock legends jammed in the shop, and somehow Chumley still turned it into comedy. Classic Pawn Stars ending.
I don't know. Like, blind melon. Melons can't even see, so it's a blind melon. Like, that's cool.
All I know is Joe Elliott and Phil Collen was in my store, and
the episode kicks off with icy drama, pun intended. A seller walks in clutching a 1906 $50 recovered from Titanic victim John W. Gill's pocket. He casually asks $125,000, comparing it to a survivor's $1 bill that once sold for the same. Rick's fascinated but skeptical. Sure, the coin itself is worth $50, but tie it to one of history's worst maritime disasters, and suddenly we're talking 6 figures. The tension hits fast.
First edition Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde book.
Oh, that is cool. Let's just make sure it's really first edition.
I got a Howard Hughes built altimeter.
Rick presses for details. The seller claims the coin has an unbroken pedigree back to 1912, cataloged when Gill's body was recovered at sea. Rick explains how Titanic's brittle steel doomed it after the iceberg strike. Bodies were cataloged and belongings returned to families. This coin, he admits, is a game changer. But Rick's no fool. Time to call in a coin expert before sinking $125,000.
It is a 1906, 50 cents, improperly cleaned, John W. Gill.
Meanwhile, horror fans rejoice. Another seller drags in a first edition of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, hoping for $4,500. Rick cracks jokes about it being an ex-boyfriend biography, while the seller explains it came from an office cleanup. Nervous but hopeful, she braces for the book expert. Rick promises to call Rebecca, the shop's resident book genius, who considers books sexy, awkward, but intriguing.
I have a very old first edition Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde book.
Oh, that is cool.
Rebecca arrives, lighting up at the sight of Stevenson's classic. She tells the backstory. Stevenson dreamed the plot in a nightmare and got mad when his wife woke him up mid-dream. That's commitment. She confirms it's a true first edition, but rebinding stripped off the original covers. If untouched, it could have been $8,000 plus. As is, around $4,000. Still valuable, but not the literary jackpot the seller hoped for.
with the first edition copy of The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. If this thing is actually a first edition, I think there's a lot of money.
Negotiations on the Jekyll Book get tense. Seller asks $3,000. Rick offers $2,500. She pushes to $2,800. Rick splits hairs at $2,700. After some hesitation, she takes the deal, muttering that $2,700 is better than dusting it in her office. Rick smirks, probably already plotting where to stash it on his shelf.
He wants to indulge and he wants to be able to get away with it even though he's a gentleman.
It looks in relatively good shape.
Yes, it's a nice copy. This binding looks to me like it's an early 20th century binding.
Switching gears, another seller rolls in with 2 pewter mugs he swears are from the Revolutionary War. Corey and seller inspect the markings, only to find a clear Victorian-era stamp, literally engraved with VR Revolutionary? Not even close. Corey offers $20 for the pair. The seller scoffs and storms out. Talk about a sobering history lesson.
A couple mugs, I was told they were from the Revolutionary War era.
All right, where'd you get them?
I got them at an estate, and the elderly lady, she was around 90 and she was looking to...
Back to Titanic treasure. Rick calls in coin expert Dave. Dave confirms John Gill was a real second-class passenger, just 24, leaving behind his new bride. Records even list the items recovered from his body, including a gold watch, a ring, and coins like this one. Dave calls it highly unusual, the kind of artifact collectors salivate over. But when it comes to value, reality crashes harder than an iceberg.
The guy came in with a US half dollar that was found in the pocket of someone who passed away on the Titanic. But as far as price goes, I'm gonna need some help.
Dave lays out the brutal numbers. The coin sold in 2011 for $3,850. Then again in 2014 for $21,000. It's historic, but $125,000 is fantasy. Realistically, maybe $20,000 in the right auction. Rick offers $10,000, but the seller won't budge under $75,000. Deadlock, no deal. The man leaves with his coin, still dreaming of Titanic-level profits.
Well, apparently this coin had sold in 2011 for about $3,850, and then again in 2014 for about $21,000.
As if aviation buffs needed fuel, another guy shows up with a Howard Hughes altimeter he claims measures 70,000 feet. Sounds like spy plane gear, right? Wrong. Rick bursts the bubble. It's from an old steam boiler, not an aircraft. The seller asks $500, Rick offers $50. After banter, they settle at $60. The seller shrugs, saying it'll cover a cab ride. Glamorous.
So I got a Howard Hughes built altimeter.
Okay, do you know much about it?
I know the 70 on there actually stands for going up to 70,000 feet in the air. That's what spy planes go up to.
Oh, sweet.
Finally, a 14-year-old hustler brings in a 1936 Zeiss 16mm movie camera, hoping to score $800 for demolition derby money. Rick explains how 16mm once revolutionized home movies but got crushed by video. He offers $100, seller insists on $400, deal collapses. The kid vows to shelve it for 20 years. Honestly, bold move.
36 Movicom Zeiss Camera.
Sweet. And where did you get this?
We do clean outs for different storage facilities. And
the episode closes with Rick and Chumley debating digital versus film cameras. Rick praises depth of field and color reproduction, while Chumley waves his phone around shouting, "It's faster, it's better!" Corey cuts in, joking Rick just fears becoming obsolete like film. The old man's spirit lingers in the joke, survival of the fittest, even in the pawn world.
Oh, this kid was just trying to sell me an old 16mm movie camera.
It's garbage, isn't it?
Well, you know, sort of, but you know, there's still cool things about film.
The episode kicks off with Rick announcing he's got to leave in a few months for something important. Chum instantly jumps in. Doctor's appointment? Hair plugs consultation? Rick snaps back. No, he's giving a lecture at a college about business. The shop erupts in laughter. Corey deadpans. If you've worked here your whole life, you've never been in business. Shots fired in the first minute, and Rick hasn't even left the shop yet.
You got a consultation for hair plugs, don't you?
Oh my God, Rick, does it come down to this?
I am not getting hair plugs. There's a local college I am giving a lecture at.
A young seller walks in carrying a copy of Mark Twain's A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. He admits he's never read it, just inherited it from his dad. Rick geeks out, explaining Twain's Nevada roots and how Samuel Clemens invented the pen name Mark Twain out west. The seller wants $1,500, bragging his dad never paid more than $50 for first editions. Rick raises an eyebrow, smelling either a great deal or a great disappointment.
What do we got here?
I have a first edition Mark Twain that I'd like you to look at.
Okay, a Yankee in King Arthur's Court.
Rick inspects the book, explaining how copyright dates can mislead collectors. Unsure, he calls in Rebecca, his go-to book expert. She swoops in, visibly pregnant, and immediately teases Rick for stating the obvious. She examines the pages, breaking down early versus late states. Turns out the book is a mixed state first edition, meaning it's genuine, but assembled from sheets printed at different times. Value? Around $1,200 to $1,300 in its rough condition. The seller's face drops slightly.
The guy brought in what he says is a first edition Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. Some people call me a bookworm, but I don't know nearly as much about books as Rebecca does.
The seller, hoping for $1,500, asks Rick for a fair offer. Rick pounces, offering $700 flat. The seller protests, "Can he go $800? Rick smirks, reminding him he literally just said, "I trust you, give me a fair price." Translation: he set himself up for the lowball. Seller sighs and accepts $700. Rick beams, knowing he scored Twain for half value. The seller mutters he's okay with it, but deep down, you can feel Tom Sawyer laughing at him.
Well, I started at 15. She says it's worth 13. I trust you. If you're interested in it, just give me a fair price.
I'd give you $700 for it.
Meanwhile, Lily's at the counter working on her grades. Chum, ever the role model, brags that he only ever aimed for C's because A's were too much pressure. Corey jumps in, reminiscing about his own wild youth, barn dances, fights, and Navy enlistments. Chum teases Oldman, P1, picturing him as a lonely nerd kicked out of lunch tables. Lily politely defends Oldman, saying his class might have been cool. The shop explodes in laughter. Poor Oldman. Even his staff won't let him live it down.
What are you working on, Lily?
Just some school stuff, you know, checking to see if my grades are looking okay.
You're getting all A's, right?
Yeah.
Cut to Rick in a lecture hall, rocking his fancy clothes. Translation: the infamous tight turtleneck. He tells students he built his shop with no money, working 36-hour shifts. He preaches work ethic and self-education, bragging he's read science and history books every night for decades. Students ask about his failures, and he admits to many, citing Henry Ford going bankrupt. For once, people actually want to hear Rick talk, unlike his family, who tune him out daily.
Here at a local college, I got invited here to do a lecture on how to run a small business. So I got my fancy clothes on and come on down and gonna give it a shot. I'm Rick Harrison. I own the world-famous gold and silver pawn shop.
Back at the shop, Corey faces a psychiatrist selling antique bone drills and tree-panning tools. They look like medieval torture devices, and Corey freaks out when he learns they were literally used to drill holes in skulls to release evil spirits. Seller wants $1,750. Corey offers $1,200, arguing only doctors collect this creepy stuff. They haggle and land at $1,250. The seller's satisfied. Corey smirks, and Corey mutters that Corey's the only one who still believes in evil spirits.
This is an antique bone drill set. Dates about 1890s.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're a doctor.
The weirdness continues when a seller presents a 1953 Peter Pan Tinkerbell cell. He claims Walt Disney himself gifted it to a dentist after a toothache emergency. Asking price, $20,000. Chum's skeptical, pointing out the only proof is a COA with handwriting and a family letter. He laughs, offering $500, then stretching to $800. The seller insists he's already been offered $10,000, prompting Chum to clap back, then go take it. Seller storms out fuming.
We have a 1953 original Peter Pan Tinkerbell presentation piece.
It's pretty cool, man. Are you a Peter Pan fan?
Big time.
Finally, Rick returns to the shop, bragging about his lecture. Chum grills him. How many people called you Professor Dick? Did they throw spitballs? Rick insists everyone was engaged, asking serious business questions. Chum isn't buying it, mocking Rick's tight turtleneck. Corey joins in, saying it makes his head look like a zit. Even Rick admits his wife was the only one who approved his outfit. The episode ends with Rick groaning, probably Googling new turtleneck styles.
No one called me Professor Dick.
Spitwads hit you, or?
Nope.
How many people fell asleep?
Everyone was really engaged. They were listening to me and asking me questions.